man, this sucks. This sucks. I hate this topic. But guys, Warner Brother Games finally got a patent for the Nemesis system in the shadow of Plank series, and it sucks. So here's the story. I'm gonna try to run through this real quick so we can discuss this real quick because I know we're kind of a little bit short on time here.
A little behind, yeah.
But so the patent was secured, I'm sorry, after multiple attempts on February 3rd of 2021. They have been trying to do this since 2015, since after Shadow of Mordor came out. Right. So then this was the part of the whole notice that IGN had linked to, was that the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office released an issue notice on February 3rd, 2021, saying the patent would go into effect on February 23rd of this year. Warner Brothers has the option to maintain the patent through 2035, providing they keep up with the necessary fees. So I took the abstract from the patent. This is like the opening part of the patent here. And this is what it reads. I'm going to kind of go through this real quick here. So methods of managing non-player characters and power centers in a computer game are based on character hierarchies and individualized correspondences between each character's traits or ranks and events that involve other non-player characters and objects. Players may share power centers, character hierarchies, non-player characters, and related quests involving the shared objects with other players playing separate and unrelated game instances over a computer network, with the outcome of the quest reflected in different games. Various configuration of game machines are used to implement the methods. So the big issue with this patent is they apparently kept getting their patent denied because the language was too broad. And this is the language that they allowed them to do. Like, there's a lot more to read through. The patent is very, very long. But essentially, the language is still too broad here. So for anyone who doesn't know what the Nemesis system is, this was a system that was debuted in Shadow of Mordor with a lot of upgrades in Shadow of War. And this was taking individual orcs in this game series. And if, like, the player interacted with them, say, like, you had a Yorick who killed you. And, that got him promoted from a soldier to a captain, up to a bodyguard, up to a war chief. That's how this whole thing's built, right? And there was this really cool mechanic to where, like, you were making these stories with these certain individual orcs. And, like, it even got some ridiculous to where, like, you had some orcs that were like a poet that would sing, or you had one orc that just wouldn't die. Like, they became like the Stitch, and they were just this unstoppable killing machine. Like, it sucks because, like, this system, this entire idea is now not going to be able to be used for a lot of other games. And it really, truly sucks. Now, some people be like, well, but wait a minute, Vince, what about Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Or what about Watch Dogs Legions? Don't they have the same thing? They do, but to a certain level, and there's not a hierarchy. That's where they kind of got away with it. And the other thing, too, is this patent was also in development. It kept getting delayed. It kept getting pushed back, denied, pushed back, denied. It's now a cemented
But that's
deal.
the thing, right? As soon as to say that they would have been able to do those systems now that this patent has been filed or whatever and has gone through. So it's kind of a crazy thing, and it's kind of weird to me that is this the first time this has happened? It seems like it, right?
It is not actually the first time that something has happened. And so, like, in my research on this, again, I really want to try to be quick here. We had a similar issue whenever Sega patented the floating arrow in Crazy Taxi, and EA made Simpsons Road Rage. That was actually a suit that they actually had to settle out of court because that was a patent infringement. Konami actually had a patent on a static marker with a marker moving up, and that's how you got an accuracy point for DDR. There was stuff like that. Namco had a patent for mini games in loading screens that actually expired in 2015. So it's not the first time that this has happened. It what just sucks about this is so broad, and that's why everyone liked Shadow of Mordor. Not so much Shadow of War, because Shadow of War had like all the microtransaction issues that were there. But that's what made Shadow of Mordor kind of a critical darling when it came out, because it was like, this is really cool. Like, you're contextualizing all these individual orcs that I'm slaughtering and murdering, but like, there's always this chance that a story can be created there.
Yeah,
and like
that was 100% at the time. Everything surrounding that game was the Nemesis system.
Right.
Everybody was talking about that, and that year that actually was the Game of the Year contender, and I think largely because of that. It was unique and new and fresh, and people really grabbed onto it. And it makes me wonder myself, like, what's next after something like this? Something so broad as this.
That's what really sucks. I mean, like, I was talking to Mike again about this a little bit off the show. What sucks is like, what if Ubisoft had been like when they were in development of, Assassin's Creed Unity and everything like that, and like, you know what? Hey, we're gonna go outside the city of Paris, but we have hills and everything to climb. Let's patent an animation system or an idea to where we can freeform climb up rocks. You wouldn't have a game like Breath of the Wild because of something like that. That's what sucks. And especially with Shadow of Mordor, it's Batman Arkham Asylum and a couple other Ubisoft open worlds. That's the game. It borrows so much to a point to where there was even one of the Ubisoft lead animators was like saying, you kind of stole animations from us.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like,
yeah.
So then the fact that like they were going to sit there and say, yeah, we're going to patent this, and this isn't to like diminish the work that Monolith did. I mean, it's an intensive system, but then let's sit there and say, yeah, we're going to patent this one thing. It was just like, but your game was made with a whole bunch of other borrowed elements. That's how game development really works. Could you imagine if id Software had patented Wolfenstein?
Yeah, it does make it kind of dirty when you look at it that way, right? Even more dirty, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we wouldn't have first-person games. So that's what really sucks. I mean, like, just to kind of open the discussion here real quick, would there be anything that you guys would think of that you would be worried about someone patenting now, like especially in this day and age, if something like this can happen?
That's an interesting question.
Imagine Battle Royale,
right,
right,
or live service games in general. Imagine if Destiny somehow patented an always online hub that wasn't an MMO. There's so much
or like asynchronous online gameplay, like similar to Journey or something like that. What Journey did with like its online mechanics, or
the main problem that, as I see it, is that this is the fact that it's video games. Most courts, most patent offices, and everything else like that, they're not really versed in the world of video games.
Right.
So this isn't like a situation where you have like Paris Hilton trying to patent That's Hot, or trademark rather. It's not one of those things where it's not something that's can easily say, like, I can look at that phrase and be like, look, that is way too, like, if somebody just says like, ow, this, that pan, that's hot. Like, it's not something where it's like, now all of a sudden I owe you money. Or like what happened with what's his name from Fresh Prince, the guy who played Carlton.
Yeah.
When he was trying to patent the Carlton dance. You can borrow certain elements from that, and as long as you're not doing the entire routine, and it's the same thing, as long as you're not copying the same game, then like beat for beat and everything else like that, then if you just borrow elements from, like, small elements from each thing, that's how, exactly has been said, that's how game development works. You build off of what came before. All of art is derivative. Like, all of it is.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that scene in The Social Network where they're accusing Mark Zuckerberg of stealing Facebook, and he's like, "Is there any line of code, that I've stolen? Like, show me a line of code that I stole from you." Because really, in the end, that's what it comes down to. Like, as long as you're repurposing it and recreating and writing your own version of it, then that's like any art, really. Taking inspiration and developing it into your own thing. As long as they're not stealing code, then really there's nothing wrong.
But I will say I do question how well this will hold up in court, in general. I don't know if this will really be as negative as the fear is, only for the sheer fact that judges, competent, in this type of, not only art but language of how the patent is written, could easily, almost laugh this out of court. I think any competent judge looking into it and seeing it would dismiss it and question it.
I would say go ahead.
I was going to say the only thing that I will just argue against that, Mike, just real quick there, is the precedent that has happened with it, though. It has stopped from all those other things I have listed. That has stopped those things from happening, even though it's been, I would assume, I did some research as best as I could. They all had a very similar language to that. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a patent officer. I have no idea. I mean, it could just be a little bit more over fear. But the real issue is that the problem is, like, they patented the entire system of Nemesis, Nemesis forts, Nemesis vendettas, social vendettas. Like, there's all these broad key terms that are patented in this patent, which sucks. It's like, the social vendetta part, especially, is like the hard part. It's like, do that in Grand Theft Auto 6, right? Like, say you bust into someone's car, Rockstar can't develop like that NPC now remembering who you are, and then like you're out one day drinking, and all of a sudden they come doing drive-by. They can't do that now. It has to be that immediate thing that happens. That's just the only thing that sucks.
But again, it's the validity of that. A game studio can and very well should make whatever they think is going to work in whatever system they do, and if it is challenged, they can easily challenge it back. Again, because of the way that coding works, and because it's also considered an art, I don't know if it would ever hold up in court. Not to mention that the patent on it would most likely be monetary damage, not cease and desist.
But I get the fear.
What you would always do in
there.
those situations, and just very brief legalese, I am not a lawyer. Let me put that out right now.
This is not a fake fans moment.
The way, to my understanding, is that 9 times out of 10, what you have to do is you have to throw out a cease and desist in order to begin litigation from that point. Because then it becomes like, all right, you already asked me to stop, and I'm basically telling you, no, F off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So look, to Vince's point, I think at the end of the day, and exactly what Mike was saying, I don't think that this would ever hold up in most courts. I think any defense attorney worth their salt would be able to point out, look, no single line of code was taken from their games. They didn't strip data mine the games and then all of a sudden just said, okay, we're going to take all of this and then throw it into our game. There's going to be enough where they can say, hey, look, we have our own little spin on it. It's not exactly this, but it kind of works like it, but it's not it. And
yeah,
they can start making all the art arguments that they want, bringing in dance routines, how you can't really patent the idea of a chicken parm sub. You can't, there's certain, like there's nothing that you can really do where you can say, like, look, like there's things that exist, and exactly as we just kept, and I'm repeating it myself again, but it bears repeating. All art is derivative.
Yeah.
There are certain things, as long as you are not taking the thing beat for beat, word for word in its entirety, and 100% underlined in its entirety, then there's really no case there.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
No, I don't disagree.
Let's hope, right? That the fear is there, though, because it is a slippery slope, as some might say.
Because inevitably, if you're a AAA publisher, your worry is, look, I just want to put out a game and make money. I don't want to potentially have to go and litigate this, and it'd be more trouble than what it's worth. I'm not trying to make a political stand on what constitutes non-derivative art, or what So. Mm-hmm. Look, unless it's going to be like an indie developer who's going to say "F you" to WB Games
fear right now,
that's
the biggest fear,
and that's what they would likely do. And it would have to be probably an indie developer who would be like, "No, this is my potential livelihood. I'm going to fight for this."